Onimusha took a year off in 2005, which is a funny way to put that because after 2006 it would take much longer off. But if you wanted an action game about samurai with magical powers and undead guys, very loosely based on Japanese history for the PS2, you still got a game that year, with Genji. It was the first title from now defunct company Game Republic, founded by an ex-Capcom staff member, which the back of the box does want you to know about, making me feel less guilty about starting this review by invoking the shadow of another franchise. Thankfully, Genji doesn't have too much to worry about in regards to that comparison because it's a lot of fun, and for my money delivers in a lot of areas where the latest Onimusha game at the time didn't. First off, if you wanted a game set in a historical Japanese setting that, say, doesn't have any levels where you shotgun roid lions at the zoo, Genji delivers by committing to its 12th century Japanese setting. I'll get this out of the way right now. This game doesn't have the most compelling of characters or narrative. Evil clan want to wield magic power, good underdog clan is going to rise up and stop them. The best I can say about the leads is that they are, I guess, charmingly high-strung in a somewhat endearing way.
I was so scared. It was so horrible.
Is that the truth? You'll have time to explain later.
You gotta respect that these guys are just never at ease.
We will find the strength to defeat them. Just wait. Never fear.
Except when they get a new weapon and do a little dance. History buffs may enjoy seeing historical figures they're familiar with, now with superpowers, but the real draw here is the setting, realized with some amazing visuals and art direction, as well as a tasteful atmospheric score. The game packs a lot of detail onto the screen, dense forest areas and snowy towns look phenomenal. The game has a few kind of rushed levels, like a repetitive underground maze and a castle I swear they just repositioned the same room at different angles over and over in. But the aesthetics of Genji are a real highlight, with some real cool looking levels both grounded in reality and ethereal. The final boss arena is especially striking, and I won't spoil it here, which is a shame, because I got some pretty good footage of it. Should have just saved the hard drive space, really. Combat is quite a bit of fun in Genji. If you're like me and are recreating the timeline of events of the mid-2000s, by playing these action games in their order of release for you, coming off Onimusha 3 to playing this is such a breath of fresh air. Look at Yoshitsune go, he's blasting off! He's yet another guy who performs in gameplay way more like Samanosuke in Onimusha 3's opening than in Onimusha 3's gameplay. If you're looking for a more action-focused Onimusha game, while 3 stumbled with that directive, Genji thrives pulling it off. You get this sick jump cancel move that's just tricky enough to be satisfying, where you can hop around atop enemies making fools out of them. The game has the same counter move as Onimusha, where if you hit attack just before an enemy strike, you'll counter for huge damage. Though thankfully, the timing is more akin to Onimusha 1 than its harsher sequels. But what's really cool is how this game manages to make this move a more core part of gameplay with the Kamui bar. Expend a chunk of this special power meter and it will knock enemies back, triggering a standoff while slowing time. This allows you to time the counter move more effectively. Expend another chunk while in this state and time will slow down even more for a short window, making it that bit easier. While this makes countering weaker enemies trivial, stronger ones and especially bosses can still demand tight timing even in Kamui mode. Nailing those trickier timing windows is so satisfying, because you just get to see the boss's health bar get decimated. I like how this all works, because it means less skilled players can make use of an expendable resource to help them engage with the counter system, while not stopping gangsters from mastering it and doing it whenever they please. In fact, just having the ability to watch enemy attacks in slow motion is a great way to get an idea of when to time your attacks outside of Kamui. It's a great tool for everyone. It's a great system, though I would argue that regaining Kamui meter is a bit too easy. It returns on its own, and while attacking does make it recover much faster, which is good, gets you thinking a bit proactively. Playing Keep Away is still an option to regain it. Not that you'll be resorting to that much outside of maybe some late boss encounters, but both methods of recovering it combined put it back on the table a little too quick. Once you've unlocked a few extra chunks of the Kamui meter and are towards the end of the title, it does start to trivialize encounters with weaker enemies since you'll have such consistent access to it. Much like in Onimusha, the counter being mapped to the same button as your your regular attack will still have it coming out on accident from time to time. So I'd still be in favor of it being on a separate button. But overall, the implementation here in conjunction with Kamui is much better. As for core fundamentals, they're solid and feel good to wield. You have dive attacks and aerial moves that lend the combat a frantic, fun pace that can be satisfying to punctuate with a Kamui standoff. And hey, the game has movement controls relative to where the camera is facing, but when the camera switches angles on its own, the game won't send the character off in a different direction. I won't praise a game for figuring this out again. I just figured, based on the comparisons we've been making today, it warranted mentioning. One issue I have with the combat is that I don't like how the game determines if you want to continue slashing in the air or come down with a slam. If you attack before hitting the peak of your jump, Yoshitsune will do a horizontal slash in the air a couple times that will combo into a vertical slash if you keep mashing. If you hit attack at the peak of your jump, he'll just slash straight down though. What aerial move you do should have been dependent on if you were holding a direction or something. This ends up being quite finicky and makes aerial combat more restrictive than it needed to be. Though if you don't want to even give much thought to aerial play at all, you can play as the second major character, Benkei, the warrior monk, whose focus is on raw power and charging. Now, he's less fun to play, I think, lacking that wild maneuverability, being a lot slower and not having the cool jump cancel moves Yo has. But he's so strong and such a beast. It's not like you'll be having a bad time or anything when you play as him. Sometimes the game will force you into playing as a character, and other times you're encouraged to go back to levels with the opposite guy to unlock all the paths available to you. Yo can reach high places, and Ben can break down doors and tree trunks. But I think Yo is just getting lazy with those. I mean, come on, you can't get over that? I commend the game for being so flexible, really, with the character choice system. You can stick to playing a lot of the game as either Benkei or Yoshitsune, and a few cutscenes will be slightly different depending on your choice. I think less people will likely choose to play most of the game as Benkei, but the fact that you can is kinda cool. Both characters can be equipped with new gear and leveled up, but this is where the game leaves a little to be desired, because for the most part, you're not unlocking new moves, just increasing your stats via a light RPG system. Equipping accessories to up defense or attack with maybe some status effects that protect against certain elemental attacks. You'll be selling off one objectively worse weapon for the next one with slightly better stats. You know the drill. It's kind of funny because this game is so short, you'll be buying a weapon and using it for all of about 10 minutes, because a better one will be available after you blast through the next level. The whole system is condensed down to breakneck speeds. I will say this for it, at least it means you have access to most of your moves from moment go, and can start experimenting early, which is actually good for a 6-hour game, that you don't have to unlock the aerial dive or jump cancel or something. Looking on the bright side, being allowed to choose what stats to focus on allows you to modulate the difficulty in a way that's best for you. I like to put points into attack here rather than into defense, to create a glass cannon type character. I think that's fitting in a game so much about tense all-or-nothing standoffs. I love how if you lose in this game it says, "The End." It's way more brutal than "Game Over." It's like, that's all she wrote, bro. The biggest issue is the issue that seemed to befall most action games of the time. I don't know what it is in the way these games were made, but once again we have a runs out of levels type situation with Genji. If you have a game where your combat is really good, just accept you'll be going back to some levels again. It doesn't just resort to a boring cave system. No, we have the classic. Old levels, different color. It's all corrupted now, man. It's totally different. It's purple. The game even recycles chest placement. Remember this chest you could unlock with Benkei earlier? Well, now there's another one back again in the same place with the same requirement. I'm really disappointed there wasn't more snow areas. It looks so cool and you get so little of it. Just the fact this second map screen has only 2 locations makes me think they were strapped for time and had more plans they couldn't implement. Genji is a fun little title, but I will be honest, it's still a game where if you had bought it at full price in 2005 instead of Ninja Gaiden, DMC3, or jump cancels notwithstanding, God of War, you would have been missing out. But today, as one of the cheaper PS2 titles you can get, it's a no-brainer for an old-school action fan. Though my disc does hitch on this cutscene every time. Had to skip that one. Even in the cutscene viewer it hitches. You know, as a Sony game, you'd think Genji would be a shoo-in for the PlayStation Plus subscriptions anemic retro game selection, where we could iron out these issues of optical media decaying, But I guess not. You can stream the second Genji to play it on your modern PlayStation of choice, though they have it listed with the first game's box art. They're just on fire over there. I do really like the effort they put into the PAL packaging though. The manual is full color and in a cool sideways style, and in a shocking move, the cover lists not 2 movie stars that worked on the game, but a bevy of creatives who lent their talent to development, including the game director. Crazy stuff, I know. It feels like a real flex, to be honest, when compared to Oni's transparent lust for clout, with the name of a guy who doesn't even do most of his performance. Anyway, that's this whole game. Just a casual little flex. Maybe could have held it a little longer. The end.